Good morning. This is Dr. Sandhya Rani Ramdas, and I'm very happy to give a lecture on major careers in psychology, which is organized by St. Thomas College, especially by their Department of Psychology and their head, Dr. Hema. And I'm thankful for inviting me to give that talk. I'm going to share the presentation now and start my talk. Can you all see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes. So let me start with a brief introduction about myself, and then I'm going to talk about my career path, and then I might start talking about all the various options available at present for us. All right. So I'm going to start with myself and why we are thinking of psychology, what are the skills required, what are the courses that we have to look at, what are the trending areas, what are the emerging areas. Right. About me, I'm an organizational psychologist, and I'm also the co-founder of Elemented Psychological Support Services, which is an organization based from Chennai, and we provide assessment, therapy, internship, and every kind of psychological support for all institutions, organizations, individuals, and groups. I'm certified by IAPS, which is Indian Association of Indian Academy of Professional Supervision, and we need to do a course and get qualified to be a professional supervisor. I have my license in occupational testing, level B from British Psychological Society. I'm trained in psychometry from SciAsia, Singapore. I'm also trained as a leadership evaluator when people get promoted. So I do leadership assessment with organizations. I got the opportunity to do a program in IIT Madras in talent acquisition, so whereby we can help organization recruit, find the right talent for their workforce. That is one part of the course. And of course, my regular academic requirements, which is my MSc, MPhil, and PhD in psychology. And I chose my research area as the work environment of seafarers. Seafarers are it's an area I think very close to my heart because I've sailed. I'm a seafarer's wife, and I've sailed with my husband, and I got the opportunity to observe life at close quarters there, and I felt that is an area in India not much addressed, and I think it would be a great opportunity to look at that. Okay. My research is mainly focusing on human element, especially in the shipping industry. I'm also a consultant to various shipping companies that you can see in the list here. Okay. So my career path, when I completed my MPhil in 2006, it began as a freelancer. I started as a freelancer giving on and off guest lecture and talks here and there in companies and colleges and schools. And then I got the opportunity to work with the Madras University in the Corporation School project, where we were providing soft skills training to all the school students studying in 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. After that, I got the opportunity to study counseling from Dr. Emma Gonzalez. She conducts supervision for budding counselors, and I got myself supervised from her. And then I got the opportunity to pursue research. So research is something very close to my heart. It will never leave my system. Even now we are continuing with our interns doing studies and publishing them. And I think that's something, a never-ending passion for me. And then I started my journey. I did the licensing course from BPS because when I went to organization, I felt that having a license mattered, having a certificate that I'm eligible to do this mattered. And in India, we have only for clinical psychologists RCA licensing, and other than that, we are still to evolve. So as much as I know, I don't think there is any organization. So I had to go to BPS, and they certified me as a psychometrician. So I'm licensed to do occupational testing. Then in my journey, as I was doing training and counseling and freelancing, I was invited by a shipping company to assess their seafarers, and that's where I met my partner, Dr. Kirtibai, and many other clinical psychologists. We had similar ideas and values, and we thought, okay, why not start something together? So we would be able to give much more services. And that's how Elementech started. So today Elementech is around 7 years old and going on strong as ever. And we have a lot of interns coming, and we have our regular clientele who call us for assessment, our counseling, and mental health support. We also provide, I became a supervisor, I think 3 to 5 years in the field, and I was approached by many students to shadow, and they wanted to observe me as part of their academic requirement, as part of their interest, and therefore I went and read about supervision. I wanted to know what is supervision, and in my experience while doing my course with Maersk and with BPS, I also came to know how I am being supervised, and I felt I should share my experience, and therefore Elementech started internship program, and we've been supervising also. And now, thanks to IAPS, I'm also certified in supervising budding psychologist. I'm from a freelancer. Now I can say I'm a consultant to many organizations for mental health, for organizational development, for concepts on psychology. They do call me every time they want to change a policy, or they want a training, or they any workshop that they want. I volunteer at with an organization called Wellbeing Volunteers United, where we offer telephone counseling. It was very active during the initial stage of Corona spread, where a lot of people were stuck at home and they needed support, and I was fortunate to be able to part of that. Right now, I'm a visiting faculty at Hindustan Institute of Maritime Training, where I teach organizational behavior and mental health paper. I'm also training in a couple of other shipping institutes, which is part of their training wing. The companies which have a training wing, they do invite us as well. So that's my career path. And the first thing that we have to look at when we look at careers in psychology is, why did we choose psychology? What is the reason that we got into the field? Is it because somebody asked us to? Is it because somebody, we have interest in human nature? So I did ask a lot of people about why are they into psychology, and these are some of the answers that I got. They have told that curiosity about human mind and behavior, a general interest in the subject. Some had this insight that they're able to connect with people and they wanted to be in the helping profession. Some had a person, they themselves or a person in their family were affected by a mental health issue, and they felt that they have a better understanding of what's happening, and studying in that field would help them give it to others as well. There are people who told that they feel that by changing people's, by helping by helping people to change their thoughts and irrational thoughts and set of faulty beliefs, they would be able to change the society. So there are people who want to bring about change, and therefore they took psychology. A few of them had told that they had a role model from childhood, and they have been seeing this person evolve into a professional, and they also wanted to be someone like that. So they had a role model. And some were very clear in their 9th, 10th, they decided, because of a career guidance or because of an exposure to this field, that they decided they wanted to be a psychologist and grow in this field. There are few who told, just for the sake of a degree, it's a BSc without maths and physics, so I'm going to be very happy about it. On a lighter note, but still, they felt that they wanted to study something related to science, but at the same time, without deviating too much from humanities as well. So it's a good in-between course. Some just randomly have taken this, and some just got the seat by chance, and they thought, why not try it? There are few who still want to read people's thought, though we all know it's a myth. And very genuinely, I have heard people say that they wanted to be in a helping field. They want to help people heal. And that's a very noble intention also. So these are some of the reasons that I have received from my students and acquaintances about the reason why they took psychology. I'm sure there are many more. Coming to a typical academic growth in psychology, it begins with your undergraduation where you do your BA or BSc, and there are people who qualify themselves with certain special skills through a diploma and a PG diploma. Then eventually to be called as a psychologist, you need to have a master's in psychology. Therefore, they proceed to do their MA or MSc in psychology. And eventually, if you want to be a subject expert, if you want to be known as a professional particular field, gradually there is also a tendency to proceed to PhD and eventually to postdoctoral scientific. When there is an academic inclination, they may do all this. So this is the typical growth in this field. The broad areas, when somebody starts a field, when okay, now I'm into psychology, what are the broad areas that are available for me to get a job, start a career? Is first of all, it is applied practice. When we say applied practice, you can study concepts of psychology and apply it in a group of people or in a place, in a specific population, where you can be a trainer, you can be a behavioral expert, you can start coaching, you can start sports. And then there are practitioners. Practitioners are people who typically work in a hospital or a clinic, where people who have issues, they come to them and they seek support. Then we have the research and academia. Research and academia is where you get into either teaching or research projects, and eventually you get into further research and become an expert in the field. Now coming to technical skills, apart from your academic degree, we also need to have other skills. And this is a licensed profession in many countries. Therefore, constantly upgrading themselves, continuous education is all part of it. So it's important that we regularly get certified in the upcoming therapies and in the upcoming fields, become familiar, attend seminar, attend conferences. And one of the best way to do is try your NET and SLET exams. Makes you very thorough with the core subjects, and then you can have certifications in specific therapies and approaches. Membership gives you a lot of opportunity to attend conferences and network, and we also have licensing courses from RCI. It's not a course license. RCI gives only for MPhil in clinical as a rehabilitation psychologist, and then you can do it in BPA and APM. We also need to take care that the degree and certificate that you are taking is from a accredited institute. The accreditation is a quality, a standard established by certain organization who inspect you and give you an accreditation. So an accredited institute is ensuring quality, ensuring the right way of teaching the curriculum. Now, there may be some of you who may not want to immediately pursue your master's, but you still want to get a job, maybe because of external pressure, or maybe you yourself want to take a break, or you feel, yes, this is what I can do. I can't go beyond this. So there are careers available for a person who's done his BSc in psychology. You can get into teaching, you can get into special education, there is law. You have to be a graduate to do your law and civil service examination. You can join organizations as a fresher. You can be entrepreneurs, you can start your own business, or maybe you can take a break and then pursue your higher education. Please note that most of this will have a qualifying examination. You might have to do a 6 months to 2 years course, and then you can proceed. There are some courses you can do parallelly while working, and there are some where you might have to properly attend a class and then get yourself certified. Now coming to careers after PG, you can get into academics. You can start as a professor or a teacher with a NET qualification. You can join as a research assistant. There are school and colleges which look for psychologists. You have to have so many number of counselors in a college or a psychologist in a college per so many number of students. So there will always be a demand for it. And India, especially South India, is an educational hub, and there are so many colleges with many students, and we need to explore those opportunities. You can be a counselor, consultant, you can be a therapist with the necessary certification. You can get into the corporate, become a trainer, provide EAP support, you can be a coach, you can start your journey as an assessor. You can be a mental health practitioner who joins an NGO. And there are also many senior psychiatrists and psychologists who look for assistants to help them out in the clinic. This, for those who are looking for the clinical field, this is a great opportunity because this really strengthens your knowledge base and it helps you to, attend the interviews for your other courses. Therefore, it's a very good opportunity. Then there are rehabilitation psychologists. Now with the Zoom and Team and online courses, there's a boom in that field, and I think developing modules and conducting online classes is an option we should not ignore. Now, what are the factors to consider while choosing your field? We may think, okay, this is what is available, therefore I'm choosing. But no, in psychology, we have core principles to help you decide what field to choose. The first one is your personality. If you are an introvert or an extrovert, do you take risks? Do you don't like take risks? So there are so many aspects to your personality, and you need to see which job will suit which profile. For a person who's a very shy introverted person, if you are going to end up in a place where there is a lot of human interaction, you may experience burnout, you may experience dissatisfaction, and you may not like the job at all, and you may never know why you're not happy or why you're not being very productive, right? So you need to look at your personality, you need to look at whether you have the aptitude for it, you have the abilities for it. And the third aspect is the interest. Now, whatever it is, without interest, you can never sustain a job. There will be burnout, there will be lack of motivation, and passion is what keeps you going. So interest is very important. Second, you have to look at the opportunities. What are the opportunities available in every country? It can be very country specific. It can be very region specific. It can be very industry specific also. So if it's a startup with only 3 or 4 people, they cannot afford a full-time counselor or a psychologist. Whereas if you are going to join an organization with a lot of people, then there is always a need for a counselor there. And you don't have to be ill to approach a psychologist or a counselor, right? So you can talk even if you're stressed or worried or confused about something. It's always good to talk to a counselor and get some clarification. And the third aspect that I would like to highlight upon is the ask factors along with Ikigai. So ask, when we say what recruiters look for, is your knowledge, your skills, and your attitude. So we call them the ASK. Knowledge. Now, knowledge is a step-by-step process. It is very simple. All you have to do is do the necessary courses, pass them, get your degree, get good marks. You may get opportunities in higher education in very reputed places as well. Along with that, you need to also do internship with senior counselors or psychologists in organizations that offer internship programs that give you exposure to different fields of psychology. I think during your UG and PG, that is something very important that you do, that you get exposed to different aspects of psychology. So you are able to decide what is it that I need to follow. You can be a shadow to a practitioner and you can keep observing them. You can get formal supervision from established supervisors. You can get your necessary certifications, your licensure, your membership in psychological bodies, which give you opportunity to meet and interact with a lot of people. Now, after knowledge, I want to discuss about the skills. Now, skills can be divided into soft skills and hard skills. When we say soft skills, as a person, as an individual, you might need to be compassionate. You might need to be empathetic, understanding others. You need to develop effective communication skills. You need to have that analytical thinking, because a lot of times you're going to be analyzing what is going on there when they're drilling, giving the information. You need to process, you need to give it back. So analytical thinking is very important. Networking is an important skill, because when I am working, I just don't work alone in my clinic. The moment I have a doubt that this might need a psychiatrist intervention, I have a network of doctors whom I refer to them, and they get back to me telling whether there is an issue or I can just proceed with my therapy. And if I feel there is a relationship issue, I have a person who is a marital counselor. So I send them to a relationship person. Therefore, you are also not overloaded with a lot of things, and the client doesn't feel that, no, why am I meeting you so many number of times? At the same time, by sending to an expert, you know that they are taken care of in the right way. So networking is very important in this field. Coming to hard skills. although soft skills is something which is more important as a psychologist than the hard skills, I still feel that what is the employability of nowadays students who are coming out of colleges? How many are actually having all the skills which is not taught in an office? When you enter an office, they expect you to know MS Office. They expect you to know how to write a Word document. They expect you to know how to make a presentation. They expect you to know how to reply to a formal email. So it is important how you present yourself, the day-to-day executive skills that you need to work effectively, efficiently in an organization. And with so many work from home options, I think becoming comfortable with the online platforms such as Zoom and Teams is also something you cannot ignore. And the social media, able to use the internet, they're all added advantages. Don't wait for somebody to come and tell you you need to know this and you need to learn this. I think it's time that you take the initiative, you become familiar along with your courses. Coming to the attitude. Now the attitude part, I feel there is no end to the list of things that you can develop, but the core crucial ones that I feel as psychology professionals we need to look at is, first of all, the learning attitude. It's a never ending emerging field. There are going to be new issues. 20 years ago we didn't have internet addiction because there was no internet, but now we have. So there will be new strategies to deal with it. So there are new ways that companies are coming up for employee engagement, employee integration, work-life integration. There are so many new concepts, and we cannot stop with saying, no, what I did learned in 1990 is more than enough for me to know about psychology. You cannot stop somewhere. You will be stagnating. You will become very stale very soon. So it's important that you regularly upgrade your skills, your knowledge base. So learning attitude, enjoying learning has to be there for a psychologist. Second is self-care. It could be a very emotionally draining job. It is exhausting. So you need to know, you need to have your peer supervision, have a supervisor, have adequate activities within your day, so you're able to relax, you're able to de-stress, you're able to let go of all the baggage that you may end up carrying. Third is the discipline, whether you have the mood or not, whether you like it or not. If you have given your appointment, you need to keep your word. And that is where you can show yourself as a professional. And I think discipline is where you can show that when you have discipline, you show yourself as a professional also. So discipline is another attitude that we need to have it as part of a system. Drive, the motivation. Imagine if a client is coming to you and you are feeling down and low on a particular day. Do you think they would trust you? Like, I have come for motivation and this person is not at all motivated. So it's important to have the drive, so to push through the day. So drive, and then next comes patience. You might get all sorts. You might get very talkative people, you might get very quiet people. You will be interacting with people with different personalities, different backgrounds. So being patient is very important. Curiosity, what is it? What is it? Am I missing something? What is it that this person has to offer? So curiosity, a curious mind, will never age. So curiosity is again something very important. And last but not the least, ethical. Being ethical. Any licensed profession has a set of ethics to follow. When you don't follow, you can lose your licenses. Likewise in psychology, when people see that this practitioner is not being ethical, they stop referring to this person, they stop losing their name. And it's very important that you follow your ethical norms, whether it is referring, whether it is maintaining confidentiality, whether it is citing the right sources, whether it is taking consent from the client before using their information or before starting a therapy with them. So all these are very important norms to follow when it comes to this practice. Now coming to Ikigai. So Ikigai is a Japanese concept, and this book about Ikigai, very beautifully they have integrated the East and West principles of how it's very similar to logotherapy, but Ikigai is a much more older concept. And it talks about that how would you know your purpose? How would you know, when you know your passion, when you know what you're good in, when you know what is it that the world needs and what is it that you can be paid for. When these four are in sync, then you have found your career, then you have found your true calling. And then you can create your own path. You don't have to wait for a job opportunity to be created. You can create a need for your expertise in any field, and then you can enter that, and then you can create your path. So finding that ikigai is very important. And I recommend that you read this book for better understanding of these concepts. How would you prepare yourself? So starting from the knowledge, the skills, the attitude, getting supervision, building your network, finding the right person, right job fit, looking for opportunities and demands in the place where you want to start your career in, and finding your ikigai. I think these are the processes involved in preparing yourself to be a professional. Now coming to what are the courses and the specialization available. As you can see on the screen, there are so many branches of psychology that are evolving, and there are many more to come. And I think once you start your graduation, it will go on and on. Few things that we need to keep in mind before choosing the courses is, first of all, make sure that the degree certificate that you are going to receive, the course has the word psychology in it. Right? Unless your certificate has the term psychology, you cannot call yourself a psychologist. You can call yourself a counselor if it says MSc in counseling. But if it says MSc in counseling psychology, then you can be called as a psychologist. So take care that the course you're applying for has the right terminologies, because as you go higher and higher, they give a lot of weightage to this. Okay. Secondly, BSc alone is not adequate. BSc plus MSc, like how we take MBBS as a 5-year course, you need to look at BSc and MSc as a combined package to become a psychologist. Look at it as a core degree, don't break it. And whatever specialization and certification is only after your master's and not during or before. Okay. Third thing that you need to keep in mind is whether to study when you study in India or when you study abroad. In India, a 2-year master is only recognized in most of the institutions. 1 year is not. Whereas there is a flexibility in countries outside India where you can complete your masters, during summer and winter break and finish it in 1 year. Though it may be economical, it may be less time consuming. But when you come back, you might be having to face a disappointment because it is not recognized in many academic institutions. So take care that you do your 2 years masters. If you think that I want to do that particular course, look at where do you want to settle as, what is it that you want to be after that. So you need to look at it from that perspective. And if you feel, okay, after this course I'm going to start something which is not related to the academic field, then probably it won't matter. And likewise, if you're thinking of settling, look for opportunities in that country before choosing the right course. If that country doesn't have opportunities, then you can't be doing that course. Right? So you need to consider all these factors while studying in India or outside India. Now there's a big, war between this distance education courses and the regular courses, which is right, which is not. The fraternity recognizes regular better than distance. Distance is when you have interest in that field, you go for a distance. And there's nothing wrong in studying in distance, but then I think the amount of exposure you will get while doing a regular, like attending conferences, attending seminar, presenting papers, the number of professionals you will get to meet, the college will organize, like this program today is organized by a college. This distance education may not get the opportunity, and so their knowledge becomes very limited, their exposures is very limited, and they have to struggle much more to equip themselves with all the necessary skills. So it's a longer process to establish yourself as a professional when you do your distance. So regular is recommended if you want to excel in this field, and if you're doing distance, take it as something you would do for the interest, and then try to at least cope up with what is it that you're missing in the regular. Try to cope up with it by attending classes and courses. Now coming to whether is it MSc, MA, PG diploma, I know there are some universities that call it MA psychology and there are some universities that call it MSc psychologist. Whether it is affiliated to a humanities department or a science department, university to university it varies. But a PG diploma after UG does not qualify you to be a psychologist. You need to have a master's to be called as a psychologist. So PG diploma can only be an add-on skill or an additional skill. Coming to whether it's MSc, MA or MPhil and the RCA recognition. MPhil is a 2-year course in a organization, in a hospital setting most of the time, that is done only after your MSc, and that 2 years with patient population, the exposure that you get, the training that you get is very different from what you would get in an MA. So a clinical psychologist is a clinical psychologist only when they complete their MPhil in clinical psychology. There are many masters available in clinical psychology, but they cannot call themselves as clinical psychology. Probably that would help you to, enter this course, the knowledge that you gain. But MA or MSc is only, going to call you as a psychologist. Now, PhD interdisciplinary versus single stream. Now, this is something that I have noticed in my experience with my friends, that interdisciplinary is very fascinating. You can combine 2 streams and see what is possible. But when it comes to settling academically, they prefer a single stream course, not as a single discipline, because I think that is how the qualification requirement is there for that university. So if you're looking at academic growth, then go for single discipline. But if you're looking to be a researcher, to be somebody who would be part of projects, starting something new, then I think you can look at that option as well. I have gathered with my team a brief list of colleges in Tamil Nadu. I think this is a very detailed list. So the list is not exhaustive. There are many more universities and organizations, but as much as possible, I have compiled. So these are the institutes in Tamil Nadu offering psychology courses. Wow. So more than 50 institutes in Tamil Nadu are offering psychology courses. Now moving on to higher education after your UG. So these are the colleges offering Masters, MPhil and PhD in psychology all over India. So more than 17 institutions, and they have many subcategories. If you see MET and if you see this, there are so many branches that you can apply for. And these are some of the colleges abroad outside India which offer psychology courses that you can look at in person. What are the trending areas? With psychology, you're not limited to only a clinician or teacher or a trainer. You can look at so many areas. Like I told, when you find your ikigai, you can create your own career path. Like marine psychology, before me, I don't think anybody even thought of that as a field. But now I'm one of the first persons in India to do PhD with seafarers, and therefore I can call myself a marine psychologist, and we are going to offer a lot of programs in marine psychology now. Please watch out for that. Right. So trending areas, you can get into being a motivational speaker. You can be a mental health expert. You can be a subject expert. Art therapy is booming now. I think there are many people, many psychiatrists and many therapists who look for art therapists because when it's a long-term healing, you need to integrate a lot of approaches. Forensic and criminal is gaining a lot of momentum, and the sports psychology is there, defense is there. Developing materials for educational institutions. There are toys that are developed with the support of a psychologist. There are books which are developed with the support of a psychologist. Developing curriculum. You can be a consultant in government policies. When they make, you can help them with their study. You can see how effective are their policies. You can be a family counselor, you can be visiting. Now, off late, there is an increase in demand for the psychologist to go visit a client, and I think it's very limited in Chennai at least. You can be a consultant in product designing, user experience design. They need a psychologist to give inputs on how they feel using the design and whether it is usable or not. Trauma care, crisis, grief therapy. There are so many areas that you can look. The emerging areas, those were the trending. Now the emerging areas in psychology I see are the human element. Right now human element analysis, it's done only in the high hazard industry, but there are so many other industries which are mushrooming and they need intervention. They need to know, okay, when do I look at the individual as well? It's not just the machine, the person is also important. So human element analysis, human factors specialist, especially in ergonomics, psychological safety implementation in organizations where they need to educate people about mental health issues and make sure that everybody is aware of it and follows the right procedures. Mental health audit is an important field. I think it's emerging, and I'm also proposing few companies to do that so they know exactly where their employees stand and then they can give their support. Indigenous approach. If you take mindfulness, where was mindfulness, say, some years ago? Nobody knew, but a philosophy from Zen, from the Chinese, it came all the way to US and it was used, implemented. Yoga is one approach. I mean, we are using so many indigenous approach, integrating with a lot of therapies, and if it works, why not use it? We need to prove that it is effective, it is scientific, and we can be the pioneers in that field. So giving recognition to indigenous approach, I think, is one emerging field. Providing integrated care to people, whether it is geriatric or patient population. Unique areas like giftedness, like geriatric, like COVID stress, midlife crisis. You can choose a particular area like pregnancy education. There are specific areas that you can choose one area and you can be the expert in that. You can be a transformational engineer. Now, this is something that I came across during my PhD, where many organizations, they don't know properly to express their need and they end up getting a product which they didn't want. So to be that in-between person who will translate the need of the organization to the person who's developing their product and then getting, making sure the right product is made. So you can be transformational engineers. Action research and policy making. Now there are so many techniques evolving, and to see its effectiveness we need psychologists there to study, observe, and this is a field I think which is going to become more and more prominent. Being part of multi-speciality hospitals, India is a big hub for medical tourism. We have people coming to India for treatment from so many countries, and every hospital needs a psychologist, needs a health psychologist, needs a clinical psychologist, needs a counselor. So, and not more, just one. They need many. Therefore, I think multi-speciality hospitals are going to hire more and more psychologists. De-addiction and rehabilitation, especially tobacco, alcohol, drug. Now even mobile is an addiction. So de-addiction centers are also looking for psychologists to work with them. I think with this, I'm going to end my presentation. And if you have any questions, any clarifications, please type it in the chat box or in the comments below, and I can answer them when I come to them. So thank you so much for your attention. I would like to thank my team, Ms. Veena, Ms. Umekulsum, Ms. Kavya, who have helped me in making this presentation and gathering some information for this. And I would also like to say that this is information that I have gathered. This is not exhaustive, this is not limited, there are much more. I request you to look at APA website, American Psychological Association, which is giving much more information, and this presentation is for knowledge and my experience sharing only. So I would like you to explore more and more, and I hope this presentation has at least kick-started that curiosity in you to find out more. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you. Please look into our website to know more about us, elementedge.in. We also have a Facebook page, an Insta page, and a YouTube channel. And thank you, St. Thomas College, for giving me this opportunity to share my experience. It was wonderful interacting with all of you and sharing this with you. So thank you so much. And I'm going to end my talk here. I'm going to stop this presentation. So thank you very much.